Okay, this is the volume identity manipulation exclusion principle. Okay, this is basically the toughest problem in physics, chemistry, biology, and medicine. It partially works to some degree, but it's not absolutely precise. And there's some issues with it, and this volume identity manipulation exclusion principle, the exclusion part, is all about how you manipulate something in the core of an object that has multiple objects in one entity, or a box, or a cell, or a brain, or a body, or a rock, or a mineral, or a crystal, or whatever. But basically, the impossible object measure, okay? You got the impossible goal is to identify the cube in the center of this small box without moving the blocks with particles that bounce around between the spaces of other blocks. They also have to order and manipulate this box, number 8. As you can see, that's 8. And we only have electrons, photons, and blocks to do it. This is like chemistry. This is like measuring every atom in a cell, or every cell in an organ, or every cell in your brain. Or this is also like targeting cancer versus healthy cells. So this is basically the impossible object measure. This is why life is absolutely a sin. And then all boxes must be known and manipulated also, without motion. Okay? And then we know that our particles move through spaces at angles, and our blocks cause motion in all blocks if moved. So if you send a block through it, it's going to move all the other parts. And that wouldn't be very good if you were moving brain cells around to try to manipulate cancer, because that could kill you. So if you were also moving chemistry around inside of the cells trying to manipulate cancer, to try to get at a massive combinational chemistry structure that is very intertangled in quantum chemistry, you would also be moving things around that could kill you also. Make you very sick too. And then, this is basically the impossible goal. It's basically the impossible object measure. Whether you're measuring it to or from, or for, or by, or with, whatever. This is why we are all probably doomed to die until someone really finds the answer to this. It's the volume identity manipulation exclusion principle. You can't change the system without causing massive faults by moving something into the system without creating changes to the motion of the objects, and still yet maintain the same system. So, it basically breaks it if you manipulate it. But the energy that you try to measure with, like the particles, like electrons and photons, are mostly what we use. That and magnetism. There are several quantum boson particles that we might be able to use in the future. We don't know. But it goes along with this problem. And then there's magnetic field particles also. But basically right now we're using electrons and photons to relay diffraction. Diffraction is when these particles, electrons and photons, flow through the spaces, giving us a pattern of the shape of like electron orbitals of atoms, or the shape of a massive object, or whatever density might be in different densities within a body, like an x-ray of your bones, or whatever. This is pretty complex stuff, and it's relatively doable with high school mathematics. You can figure this out, but it's one of the most complicated problems of all time. And really, it's the volume identity manipulation exclusion principle. It's a mathematical, physical, chemical, biological principle. It's the impossible object measure. By Leonard Yance Jr., December 14th, 2020 at 1:47 p.m.